Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. Hope you're all doing good today. So sorry about last week. I was feeling terrible. I got sick. Everybody got sick last week in my whole family. So luckily, I was pretty much better by Tuesday. So we're good to go now. I'm feeling 100%. Except I got like a pinched nerve in my neck, and that's not making me feel any better. But I feel and can talk, and I'm not sneezing and coughing and all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, I saw people were kind of talking about the cotton balls and all kinds of stuff. So this week what we're going to do, partly because I need to get this done, but partly because I wanted to probably get like some feedback on the cotton balls. But this week we're going to do some handle blanks, and we're doing kind of a different type of a coloring system, swirling system. So let me get on the overhead view real quick, and I'll kind of give you a little bit. You probably saw the thumbnail, but so we got some quite a bit of transparent, and then we have some kind of swirly stuff going on. And this is actually extremely simple to do. So and you know, we'll obviously go through and do this on the stream, and I'll show you. But to get this effect, it's so cool. You basically just use transparent dyes and then add white. And you end up getting areas where there's, you know, totally transparent. You get some kind of white areas, but then you also, the white mixes with that dyed resin and gives you colored, like kind of opaque colors. So there's quite a few ways to, you know, to get different colors in resin. Obviously, you know, we use mica powders a lot. We use dyes quite a bit. You know, there's the transparent ones, the see-through ones from Alumilite, and then you also have things like well, I guess I don't have a label on this. The opaque ones from like Divine Pigments, and there's all kinds of other brands of this type of opaque stuff. But one other way that you can get an opaque dye is to mix the Alumilite, or realistically it should be any white dye, but Alumilite's white dye, you can mix that with their transparent and you're going to get a solid color. So by starting off with, you know, pretty much the majority of your resin being totally transparent, which is what, you know, all of these are, we're just kind of mixing up transparent resin, and then we're dumping white resin in with it, and it will pick up some of that that yellow, or, you know, in this case this was yellow and orange. And what I've done on all these is they're basically two-part, like a 50-50 mix of different colors. So I just pour, you know, transparent purple in the bottom, and then I poured like it was kind of a teal color on the top, and then just dumped some white in. And we're going to kind of experiment. These four that I did, I was just kind of experimenting with stuff, and you can kind of get slightly different results depending on when you pour everything, how you pour the white, if you swirl it up or not with a stick. You know, there's all kinds of different things that you can get slightly different looks as a result of. So we're going to try some different stuff. These ones, the way that I poured pretty much all of these, I poured in the first color totally into the bottom, poured maybe let's see, how did I do this? Yeah, and then I poured a little bit of white, and then I poured well, actually, I don't even think I poured any white on there. I'm trying to remember exactly what I did. I basically poured, you know, the yellow, and then I poured the kind of green, or maybe it's bluish, on top, and then dumped the white resin on top. Now this time, and the other thing is I was waiting until it was thicker. I waited till like 105 degrees or so, something like that, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was kind of at that, you know, thicker point, kind of the end of the working time. Today, what I want to try is actually pouring the white when it's thinner, or like earlier on, you know, at a lower temperature of the resin, and see if you can get a little bit more of that kind of bleeding effect, and also to try and get that white to kind of go through it. It'll be a thinner viscosity. So we're going to do a little bit of experimenting. It should be pretty fun. I'm pretty excited about this. You get really cool looking results, and unfortunately, you know, these aren't even turned up. This was the first one, and I ended up, I used slightly darker. I think I did green and blue which in the Alumilite, those are probably two of the darkest. I'm just looking at some of the colors. Yeah, pretty much green. Well, purple is another one. Green and blue are probably the darkest colors out of the Alumilite line of just dyes. Now there's ocean blue. That one's a little bit lighter colored, but I added quite a bit of dye. So that's actually another variable, is how much dye you put in this is gonna, in some cases, make it darker or lighter. And so this one turned out pretty dark. You know, you can't really see through any part of this. I'm holding it up to the light. I mean, you can't see through this. So you can get you can see into the blank. And let's see if I can get this on camera. In this area, you can actually see in to the white swirl stuff. So there is going to be some depth to the blank, but you know, you can't see through it. And so for something like a handle, a lot of times, you know, there's no tubes, or we don't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. So transparent blanks are kind of cool. That way you can really see like all the way in, or maybe even all the way through a blank. So just a couple things to kind of think about on that. Jake, oh man, thanks for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it, bro. I'm repping the shirt. I haven't been able to get up and actually watch the Saturday morning cartoons for a while now, so I apologize for that. Who else we got? Jamie's here. And Steelblade, what's up, man? Cool, everybody's here. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing today. It should be fun, and you can do this with pen blanks. There's no reason you can't. Now, if you're going to be doing a kit pen, this is one of those instances, you know, especially if you got something like this where it's like see-through, you can do it. The thing is, you're going to want to paint the inside of the blank, not paint the tube, paint the inside of the blank. Probably with like a white, but you could use any color, but white's a good color for doing that because it'll reflect light a lot more. It'll kind of bounce off that white. Black would absorb light, so it may kind of darken things up, and it'll darken up the colors and everything. But your blank, the issue with that is when you paint the inside of the tube, or I'm sorry, the inside of the blank itself, it kind of, whatever color you paint that, the blank takes on that color a little bit more. It almost looks like it's part of the resin. So it's kind of tough on kit pens. On kitless pens, you're good to go. You can have totally transparent blanks. So anyway, should be pretty fun today. Let's see here. So let's switch over to this. So here's the results of the cotton balls, which I would probably recommend not messing with them. So the issue is, let me get a stick or a pokey thing here. The issue is we've got serious areas where there's just, I mean, it's just cotton ball, you know. So some of these blanks are probably just riddled with that. It just didn't soak up enough of the resin. Now, one way to maybe combat that a little bit, well, one thing, we were talking about it, if you squeeze the cotton ball and then kind of let it absorb a little bit more in the resin before you pour it, you might be able to get away with not having that kind of stuff going on. But it happened on quite a few of these. There's little pockets. We did pretty good on some of these where we let the resin soak up a decent amount. And we were using Alumilite clear, which it's not open that long, so it had less time than like an epoxy to actually soak up the resin. But we did get a few, so this one has very minimal areas where I could really see that there was, you know, like a hole or anything like that. I'm sure there's going to be little air pockets here and there, but so I cut that one up, and I just cut all of these things up into Sierra size blanks. And so this one turned out pretty good. This one was, I believe, and I did so many different types of things, you know, with these. So I highly recommend to see exactly what we did with everything. Go back and watch that live stream. But this one was, we soaked with a little bit of cactus. Well, actually, this was the alcohol ink, I think. I think that was alcohol ink. That one's actually pretty solid looking, which that doesn't cure or anything, so that's kind of interesting. This one was totally soaked up with cactus juice. Like it was heavily cactus juiced. But do you see all these little, there's all kinds of little chunks, because cactus juice is not like casting resin. It's a very thin liquid, and it really only kind of hangs out in the fibers of your materials. So if there's a big area, it's not going to fill in. So I think, you know, this just kind of goes to show you what would happen, you know, with cactus juice. It's not a filler. It's not like a gap filling resin. It just is going to harden the fibers of you know, the cellular structure of materials. And so I knew this was going to happen with this. I knew it was going to be kind of chunky, and it doesn't turn particularly well. But you know, we could do a test there. I think this one was just kind of, this was cactus juice, but I didn't like super saturate it. So this one might be a pretty good one to try out. This was one of the ones with just resin. We just let the resin soak up. And I think this is probably one of the ones where we actually put the cotton balls in the resin before we even poured it. So it was really soaking stuff up. So I'd say this is probably our best bet for a good outcome. This one looks pretty good, and it looks kind of interesting with that orange. Some of that alcohol ink kind of bled into the resin, the white resin. So I don't know though. The insides of this one might be kind of terrible. This one's probably going to turn out terrible. We're going to have to fill in a ton of stuff, and I don't know. We'll have to see about that one. And this one looks okay as well. I don't know if it's going to be particularly exciting necessarily, but so basically, which one of these guys do you guys think we should turn? Because we can do that next week. So it's not that I was not doing it. It's just I kind of wanted to show results and say, what do you guys think? So I don't know if we should do a poll. It's kind of hard to, I guess we could do a poll real quick. Let's see here. Let me get my, how do I do a poll? Start a poll. Here we go. Let's try which blank to turn next week. And let's see here. We're going to go with, I'm going to label these. I'm going to call this one blue. All right, that just seems to be the easiest. Blue. And this one's going to be, I'm just going to call this cactus juice. The red that was saturated. And then this one's going to be called alcohol ink. Alcohol ink. And the last one is going to be, I'm going to just call this one resin, because it was the one that we saturated the cotton balls with resin. Okay, so we got a poll, and we'll see which one. And so I'll just turn, you know, one of these halves into a Sierra style pen. But you know, this one's kind of cool looking. We put a lot of clear and some white around it. Well, like I said, I don't think that cotton balls, I think they're just too problematic. You can probably get away with doing this stuff, but I think that there's probably easier ways to put, you know, like colored blobs of stuff in resin. Now, if all you wanted to do was encapsulate cotton balls, you know, you were doing like a, I don't know, I think, oh, that's almost stuck. Just for instance, if you wanted to just put cotton balls and like maybe make them look like clouds, that they may look like that. I don't know if they would, but let's just say that they would look like clouds. If you wanted to just encapsulate them in something like a pyramid where you're not turning into it and all that stuff, then there's no problem. They can go in resin with or without absorbing a lot of resin, you know. But when you're turning into something like this, it just, if you don't get those cotton balls to suck up a lot of the resin or to, you know, whatever, if they're not solid, then they're going to be problematic basically. So while we're doing some of that, I'm going to spray these guys with Stoner mold release off camera real quick. Get these things prepped and ready to go. So we're going to do 3 all at once. Oh, and I have one other thing that I wanted to share with you guys. Forgot about that. Let's see here. So I sprayed those with mold release, and then we're just going to pop these plugs. I got links to these guys where you can actually, well, you can get either one. Turner's Warehouse sells PVC pipes in all kinds of different sizes, and that's where you get these plugs. They're the most amazing thing. This is one of the best products that Turner's Warehouse sells, honestly, these plugs for PVC pipes. So links are down in the description for those, along with some other links to resin and all the kind of stuff that we're using. But I wanted to share with you guys, let's see here. Mark says the one that you'll think will be most successful. Now, one thing that you could meet that might work, you'd have to use a resin that can handle it, but typically I don't recommend using vacuum with resin. It's problematic kind of, but that may be a case where you could use vacuum, and that may help get more resin into the cotton balls. Maybe, I don't know. The thing about that is you're going to have to use a resin that has a super long open time anyway, so it should probably just soak it up anyway. And I think, again, that might be one key. If you can use a thin viscosity resin, like something like liquid diamonds would be a good choice for that, where it's thinner viscosity in the first place, and it may tend to soak up more. Deep pour from Alumilite would be another good one. And that's got like a 2-hour working time. So, but the problem is if you want them to be colored, or if you're going to add color to the resin, that's the issue, and then get different colors around them. I don't know that there would be any advantage to just sticking cotton balls in like, a single color dye. So we kind of let the cotton balls in this one soak up some resin. There is actually one little air pocket thing there, but so we put them in the cup with the red dyed resin, and then we poured blue around it. And so the thing is, putting cotton balls in resin for the heck of it and then putting dye everywhere, I don't even think you'd necessarily see the cotton balls except for like air pockets. So it's kind of a tough thing to do. But anyway, I wanted to share with you the newest kitless pen that I've made. And this is using the new zebra style blanks. I was really excited to make a pen out of one of these guys. I'm going to switch to the overhead camera. It turned out really good. I'm starting to really kind of hone in on like the dimensions of things and how I want things on my pens. Still wouldn't consider myself particularly, proficient at making these kitless pens, but not too bad. That's all I gotta say. I'm happy with it, and usually the maker's usually the one that's like least happy with stuff. They point out all kinds of problems and stuff. Now I don't have converters, so I can't ink this up right now. Eventually I will, but and I'm pretty excited. I was kind of excited to do a black section with this, and I think that turned out good. I think it would have been really tough to keep the zebra striping going on, so I just decided to go with a black section on that one and finish it up. Get these things lined up. It's lined up one way. That's not it. The only problem with trying to line up like kind of grain, there we go, with a triple start lead, triple lead, whatever, tap. So anyway, those things are available if you want to pick up zebra stripe blanks. They're available now on my website. There's a link in the description, and there's one in the chat as well. And don't forget, guys, I also have the tiger stripe ones as well. Let's see here. Actually, I do have a tiger stripe pen. Hold on. I can share that if for anybody that hasn't seen that. I'm really excited about that method of pouring. The technique I don't really want to share because it took me a while to figure this out. So I got to keep some things to myself, at least for a while. But yeah, I made a tiger stripe pen. This was actually the first kitless pen that I made. I don't know if I shared this with you guys yet. We also got tiger stripes, and at first I was trying to go for like that the you know, like where it's even, and I just don't really like that on a pen personally. It kind of just looks like the blank. I don't know. I kind of like having a cap. So I switched my methods a little bit on right out the gate. This one was, so one thing that I didn't like about this also, again, this is one of my first ones. I used a 12 millimeter tap and die for the cap and body, you know, cap threads. And I left the pen thicker, and I want the thickness. I like this size, the thickness of the pen. But a 12 millimeter, you know, like thread area, it just looks silly, I think. So I'm not super enthused about this pen. It's fine, but there's better things. So anyway, we got those. Those are on my site too. Very similar looks as the zebras. Blurple and apple green in the zebra pen. Oh, the tune for my the post. Yeah, I got to be honest. It took me forever because I could have sworn there was like some sort of like a Disney movie or something where one of the characters was talking about zebra stripes, or I was looking for like kind of a funny zebra stripes song forever, and then finally and there was nothing that was particularly good. Then my brain went to like, well, okay, zebras are in like Africa, maybe like some kind of like I don't know, you see in movies there's like a type of music that plays that's kind of like the Serengeti kind of music. I don't know, and I found some of those, but it just didn't really fit with the video. I was like, this is kind of weird. And then finally I'm like, okay, let me just see if there's something about stripes. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then the Johnny Cash song came up first. I was like, sweet, this is perfect. I was the who made this artist. What was I didn't see it. I couldn't check it out. What was that all about? You got to let me know, Randy. I missed it. Just trying to check it out. So let's see what the poll's doing up here. Alcohol ink is the highest one. Resin is close. So we'll leave that open for a little bit longer. Let me close that, or how do I do that? There we go. All right. Yeah, Madagascar. I don't know. None of it didn't work out. I was like, the Johnny Cash one was pretty good though. I like that. All right, so let's cast some handle blanks. What do you guys think about that? I'm pretty excited about it. And then one other thing, you know, going off of, you know, what I was talking about with the kind of design or ways that you can do this. You could use a stick or you could not use a stick. I think in this case, it's probably a good idea to kind of swirl that white around. But again, it's going to depend on whether this time what I want to do is I want to pour the white when the resin, I don't want to be pouring it. I don't want to wait till the end, basically, when it's like thicker viscosity. I want to go for kind of pretty close to right away on this one and just kind of see what happens with the white, how it interacts with the other resin colors. And in that case, it may do all kinds of stuff even after we put it in the pot, because it's going to be open for longer, and the resin tends to kind of move around a little bit while it's getting to the point where it hardens fully. So we'll have to kind of see what goes on with all this stuff, but it should be pretty cool. I'm excited to kind of share. It's not a big deal, but you might be kind of wondering, like, how do you pour two different colors and stuff. So we got a couple little fun techniques and all kinds of cool stuff. Oh, thanks, B-roll. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've been having fun. We actually, one other cool thing, we finally got the quick change tool post set up on the lathe. And so realistically, I could start on the metal lathe. Sorry for anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about. We have a metal lathe as well. My dad had one, and I wasn't sure how, he has like 3 different lathes, 2 of which he uses for stuff, and I really can't be tearing it down and doing different stuff. He's got setups that he uses all the time on these 2. And then we kind of forgot he has this other third lathe that he doesn't really use, and that's the one that it's an engine lathe, which is the type that we would want to be using. The other two are what do you call that? I don't know, a turret style, which means that they're not really set up to do like threading, which I'm not that interested in doing, automatic threading, like single point threading on the lathe. I think taps and dies are probably just faster and easier. But anyway, so we got it had a tool post and everything set up, but I wanted to get the quick change set up going because there's lots of different things that I'm going to be using. So we finally got that set up, and I could use it right now. But what I want to do is, I don't know what you call it, like the apron or the whatever, the thing that the cross slide thing. That I want to kind of clean that stuff up, and we need to clean the bed and get everything like oiled and kind of a little bit in better condition. It's in pretty good condition, but we need to do a little bit more to get that thing running perfect. So pretty soon here, I'm going to start kind of using that thing more. Tough thing is it's way up in the front of the shop. There's no light. So I don't know how much I can't live stream using that thing. That's not going to work unless I did it on my phone, like streamed from my phone, which I'm not too excited about. So we'll have to kind of see what goes on with all that kind of stuff. Oh, a multicolored bowl. Sweet. I do have a PO box. It's the return address from orders, so you can get it right there. I don't really have it out on the internets because people get kind of crazy sometimes. Let's see here. All right, so let's start casting. Let's do this. What do you guys think? All right, so I kind of figured out some of the numbers on this stuff. I already did, like I said, I already did a 3 blank pour once before. So we're going to do all these at the same time. So I'm going to need to kind of move a little bit quick. Actually, I think I'm going to do this in 2. What do we got here? 1, 2, yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to do 2 rounds. That way I can kind of take my time and explain some stuff, and then we're going to do the other 2 afterwards. I'm kind of running out of pressure pots, but we'll be okay. Let's see here. How many do I have? 1, 2. Yeah. Okay, so the date today is May 20. And we're doing, I don't even know what to call this. Dye plus white handles. And this is kind of similar to the graffiti style blanks that I've made before, which we might even, well, actually I don't have enough pressure pots. Shoot. This is all we're going to get to do today. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, also, my mom is in the hospital, so I can't really, that's another reason why I didn't want to turn pens on this, because I kind of need to go and see her tonight, or this afternoon. So let's see here. We're doing that. We're going to use PVC pipes, 1.5 inch, and we're using slow set clear, or Alumilite clear slow. Let's see here. So if you want to get in on colors, I forgot to mention this. So we have access to, pretty much any color. We got, yellow, orange, green, blue, red, purple. Another thing you could do also, I think, I'm not entirely certain, but I'm pretty sure you can. You could use alcohol ink with this as well, and that would work. I'm not a big fan of alcohol inks typically, but I think that it would work the same way. All right, so number 1, we're going to do one blank this first time. And let's see here. Yeah. Have a good one, Liz. All right, so I think I might just pick some colors real quick. But if you guys want to get in on the, we could do 2 or maybe 3 colors, possibly. We could probably even get 3 colors going in these guys. So if you guys want to do a super chat and pick a color that you'd like to see, you guys know the drill. All right, so we're gonna do, actually, here we can also use fluorescent. Let's do some fluorescence. Let's see here. So we're gonna do, let's see, this takes about, what did I say? About 230 grams. And then we're gonna go for green and pink fluorescent. And so I'm just gonna split this 50-50, but you also need to have a third cup for white dye. And you only need a little bit, like maybe 30 grams of white dye. So we're going to do 100 grams of each of the colors and then 30 grams of white. And let's see, green and pink. And I'm going to do a very minimal amount of the dye, the fluorescent dye this time. So like a drop kind of thing. Well, what we're using is, so just so everybody understands, we're using transparent dyes. Transparent dyes is what the colors are going to be. I got to turn the volume down because that is just screaming at me. There we go. All right, so again, the way this works is we're going to be filling the tube with transparent dye, resin with transparent dye, and then we're dumping white on to get the effect. That's how we get these, where you have some see-through stuff, you've got some white, but it also, the white picks up the color that is in that transparent dye. So this one was blue and yellow, and you can see that white dye, because it was white, dyed, it was resin that we just added white dye to, and when it goes through here, it starts picking up the blue. All that I did was I dumped half the tube full of yellow dyed resin. The top half was like an ocean blue, kind of a lighter blue. So it was kind of a 50-50 split. And then you just dump white dye in. And so the awesome, and this is what I'm talking about. The coolest part about this is you end up getting, we only had 2 colors. Well, there's like all kinds of different shades of color because that blue and yellow makes green. So we got some green shades, we've got some yellow shades, and we have blue. And so it's just a really cool way of doing things. It gives you, you can get some really spectacular looking results. Now it's going to be difficult to get like very pinpoint specific results. It's going to be kind of a, every one is going to be completely different, but it creates a lot of different colors out of literally 3 colors. So it's pretty cool. All right, so I'm just going to do, like I said, I'm going to do a drop, 1 drop, and then for the white, let's see, what did I do for the white? I did, all right, so we're looking at like a 1%. So I'm doing, it's tough because the way that I estimate my dyes, I'm actually factoring a percentage against half the dye, and I don't want to explain that, but so 30 grams of resin, and then we're going to add 0.3 grams of dye to that. So depending on how you look at it, if you're just doing a percentage factored against the total amount of resin, the A and B, then we're looking at 10%, or not 10, 1%. 1%, not 10%. 5% is the most that you want to go. Okay, so let's get a cup. 100, 200, 230. Okay, so we can do that. Let's see. So what color do you want, Kim? Purple. Okay. We got purple, we got red. And those, again, those are going to be for the next batch. I'm just going to do these fluorescents and do one so I can kind of explain what I'm doing a little bit as we go. I'm going to get these things out of my way. All right, so I've zeroed the scale. I can zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see what's happening. And let's see, 230, so 115 times 2. All right, so again, we're using Alumilite Clear Slow. It's got about a 12-minute working time, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio by weight, and it's a urethane resin. Okay. Got our resin ready. I'm going to need another cup for my second color, and I'm going to need a small cup. I'm just going to get a paper cup for the white. All right, here we go. I'm going to get this thing out of the way so I don't dribble all over it. Shading request. Kind of difficult. We can kind of alter the shades of these color, the dyes, but to darken it, it's kind of hard to, I don't know, to come up with like a specific match like that. What does the Yamagata look like? Yeah. Yeah, we can try. I'll add a little, like a tiny bit of black. Problem is, black is going to make it opaque, kind of, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to alter that shade of red to make it like darker. Because the only way to make it darker really is to add black, which is opaque. I think the red out of the bottle is pretty close, the transparent red dye. I think it's in the ballpark of what you were looking for. I don't think I haven't even done a red one, have I? Huh. Surprising. Okay, so we got that. We need 100 grams in this cup for our second fluorescent color. And then we need 30 grams in this cup or so. And you can kind of play around with this. You don't need a whole lot, of white to get these effects. So all of those examples, that's what they had, was 30 grams. All right, and you can tell it ends up taking up a lot. That's not a whole lot of resin. That 30 grams out of 230, I don't know what percentage that is, but it's minimal. You're looking at 13% of the entire amount of resin in this blank is that white dye, but it tends to seem like there's more. So, you can get away with very small amounts of this white dye and just kind of swirling it around in there. You don't need a lot. I just want to, you wouldn't want to do like a 50% because at that point the whole blank's going to be opaque. All right, so we're going to go with just a tiny bit. Oh, that might be, there we go. That's about a drop. These fluorescent dyes are kind of translucent, I'm going to call it. The more you put in, the more kind of opaque they get. So that's pretty good. That is see-through-ish, but it is kind of like a cloudy, translucence compared to the regular dyes are like transparent, see-through, totally see-through. More like stained glass than, I don't know. I don't know what a translucent thing would be. And these fluorescents are a little bit thicker too, a lot of times. It's hard to get a tiny amount in there. Another way to get just a very small amount of any dye is to just use a toothpick and just add a little tiny little pinprick of dye. Sometimes that's all you really need to get the color you want. Now things change when you're doing pen blanks though. I want to kind of make sure people understand. If you're doing a handle blank where the diameter is going to be, you know, an inch or inch and a half or what, you know, whatever, like you got some girth to the blank, you don't need a whole lot of dye. Like whatever it looks like in the cup is kind of what it's going to look like in the blank. But when you're dealing with pen blanks, this is going to wash out almost completely. So a better idea of what it's going to look like turned down with like in a kit pen where, you know, you've got a tube, you're drilling out the center of the blank, then you're turning down the outside to a very minimal diameter. This is a better way. Just pull some out on your stir stick. And I mean, I can't even see a shade. There's like really almost no pink tint to that resin, which means you need to add a whole lot more dye to get kind of the same effect. And again, that just has to do with the material thickness and how much color is actually going to kind of show up in that. So for pen blanks, and same thing with micas, you know, it may look like it's super saturated when you're mixing it in the cup, but the reality is you know, there's barely any color, you know, that's going to be apparent once you've turned it down to that kind of 1/8 inch thickness. So we need 3.3 grams of white. And I'm gonna be pouring this kind of right away, and especially it's like 75 degrees in the shop, which is not, you know, quote unquote hot, but it's a lot hotter than it normally is in my shop in the winter. Like 68 degrees is the norm. And so the one issue is trying to keep colors separated in this initial pour is going to be a lot tougher. So we're going to kind of have to see how this ends up turning out. But what I'm going to do is we're going to pour the pink in first, all the way to the bottom. I forgot to check the temperature. I'm kind of curious what temperature we're at, so I want to do that real quick on this other cup. 92. So we're already, it's already fairly a little bit higher than I even kind of wanted. Now here's the key to this: pick up your tube so that you're not just, because if you just dumped this in, it would all mix together for sure. So what you want to do is pour slowly down the side, just tilt it just barely, and pour it kind of slowly for this second color, and you can get a separation. All right, so, oh shoot, I was gonna pour some of the white in first. Dang it. That's what happens when I talk while I'm doing stuff. So now at this point, we just want to dump, and I'm gonna dump this. I kind of screwed that up. What I wanted to do, I kind of figured out that you really kind of need to pour some of the white in first. So you know, like I poured the pink in, I want to pour some of the white in first. So on the next round, I'm going to have to try and close my mouth for a minute. Pay attention to what I'm doing. Now, here's the stir stick, and what I want to do is we want to kind of force this down and swirl it around. And the problem that can happen here is, and why I wanted to put some of the white down in first, is we may not, like this may not actually push the white down into the pink very well. However, at the same time, we're also doing this at a lower temperature than I usually would, where the resin's a little bit thinner viscosity. So the white dye is very heavy, and it may actually kind of pull down through on its own, you know, after we put it in the pressure pot. So that's it. There, you know, like I said, this isn't like kind of crazy in-depth techniques or anything like that. And you can get kind of crazy with your stir sticks. You could do, you know, something like this where it's a little bit more aggressive and you got like a hook and all this kind of stuff going on. That may push around the white resin a little bit more. I wanted to kind of see how that just kind of smaller straight stick would work on this one. So I got it in this pressure pot. And one little thing that I do, if I'm only doing like one tube, I got a little base thing that I made. That way it doesn't fall over. You don't want your tubes falling over when you put them in the pressure pot. And actually, what I usually do, when we do the next round, I'd actually say 3 is a little bit better than just 2, because what I do is I grab a rubber band, and having 3 tubes gives it a pretty solid base. 2 of them is still a little bit rocky on that kind of side to side. So I'll just have to be kind of careful. But and the other thing is just make sure, if you've got a really, so if you were like, oh, I want to make a really big, blank, make sure that you test your blank. Actually, you guys can't see that. Make sure you test that your mold fits in before you even start mixing resin up. If you're using a mold of some sort that you've never used before, make sure that it fits in your pressure pot, because you don't want to find that out with resin in it, So, if you're doing something larger like that, then you're going to want to get a 5-gallon pressure pot, so it can kind of fit in there better. All right, let's see if there's any questions here. See what's happening with you guys. Mike McEwen's in. Don't think they have gold. I can do a goldish, like it'll be like a yellow-orange kind of thing. I actually have a couple of pre-mixed ones. So that'll actually work, I think, pretty good. Let's see, is Jake still here? So Jake super chatted. So if you want to get a color in, man, you're there, man. So make sure to pick a color. We already got 3. So the max that I think I want to do is like maybe 6 at the most. 4 is probably a little bit more manageable. 2 colors each. It may get the more colors that you're trying to pour into the tube, the more time it's going to take. So if we had like 4 colors, you got to pour 1 in, and then you got to kind of tip the thing, and we're going to have to be going back and forth with the white. Like I said, I screwed up, and I meant to pour some of that white into the first color before I did the tilting pour kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I got to remember to do that right next time. But the more colors that you would be doing with this, like stacking them, the more you'd have to kind of be doing a lot of careful pouring back and forth, and the more it's probably going to get kind of swirled up a little bit. I think 2 colors is pretty simple, and you can get a pretty decent, like, it's probably not going to be like half and half. Again, let's look at some of these examples. You're not exactly going to get like a half and half, but like this one was orange and yellow, which that's a pretty close color combination in the first place. It's not totally apparent, but you can definitely see, there's white. And this is the reason why I kind of wanted to pour some white down in first, because most of these have, and the thing is, if you want it to be this way where there's like super transparent area at the bottom, then just do it the way that I just poured that. Pour all the white in last, and you'll probably end up getting, there may be a few little trails where it kind of dips down into the bottom of the blank, but you're probably going to have a pretty big area where there's transparency, whereas on the top it's more, kind of solid colors. But on this one you got yellow, and then we had a kind of a teal color, or actually it was ocean blue, I think. And so you've got some different stuff going on, but the act of using a stir stick is also going to kind of pull all those 2 colors together a little bit. If you wanted to just have like the maximum like differential between like yellow and blue, then all you would want to do, like I would probably skip the stir stick thing completely and just dump some white in there and don't do anything, which we could actually, if I can, things get a little complicated when you're doing multiple, blanks all at once, but I'm going to try to do that on one of these and just see if, you know, if this is gonna, if I can get that to work a little bit more, where you have like more of a separation. Now in this one actually separated extremely well. You got like kind of a teal on the top and then purple on the bottom. So again, every pour is going to be a little bit different in all of these types of things, but there are some things that you can do that, you know, should kind of help get you a kind of more of a specific result. All right, so let's see, where are we at? I need to put a timer on that. Let's see here. We're gonna need white. We're gonna need those two guys. And we gotta. So we're gonna do no stir stick on one of them. Why don't we do this other stir stick on this other one? Actually, I'm gonna use this one. I think. No, I'm gonna do this one. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so let's see here. Gold for Michael. Okay, let's get another cup here. So this time we're going to need 460 grams. Doing 2 at once. Should be pretty fun. Get our little notebook thing out here, and we got number 2. We got 2 different things going on here. What do we got here? We got, what about, where's Jake not here? I don't think Jake's here. So actually, James. So we already had 2 golds. How about Jamie? Why don't you pick a different color? So we got purple. Let's see. I need to write these down. Purple, red. That would be pretty cool. They're kind of similar shades, but that would be probably look pretty cool. And then we got gold, and we need one other color. 460. No, that's both. I'm just doing 230, and it gives you. So I did 230 for each one of these. They're about like 5.5. I don't know how exactly how long. You know, handles can be, I don't know, anywhere between like. I guess it is 6-inch. So. That gives you a 6-inch blank, approximately. And these are 1.5-inch PVC pipes. So 230 grams, that gives you a good handle. Handles can kind of, I don't know, 5 inches, 5 to 6 usually for handles, depending on what kind of handle. I mean, you could even maybe do like a 4-inch handle on something. You know that's still pretty decent. But you start 4 inches, you're starting to kind of it almost looks like a stopper at that point. So 5 or 6 is usually my thing. Oh, there's Jake. Green. Okay, nice. Yeah, we can do a green. So again, green can be kind of difficult sometimes when you're dealing with the Alumilite. And I know this isn't the real bottle. I buy the big ones and then just dump into other little bottles that I bought. But the green dye is pretty dark, so you're better off just getting like a toothpick, little tiny like pinprick of it to dye your resin. They're blue also, the regular blue. This one, super dark. So if you're going for see-through, you're gonna have to use very like a pinprick of it. So we got purple, red, gold, and green. So I think red and gold, and then let's see, I've already done a purple and green kind of. Let's see, purple and gold, red and green. How about that? Get some new colors here. All right, so we need 100. So it's the same ratio. I'm going with the same ratios in each one of these. So 100 grams of each of the colors. So we're going to do in purple. I'm going to put quotations gold, and then green and red. That'll be cool. Green and red. That'll be like a Christmas blank kind of. So, and purple is another one that's super dark. Okay, the violet dye from Alumilite. So we're going with a pinprick of that. The gold, orange can get a little bit, well, orange can take over. Like if you're just trying to add, like make yellow a little bit more orange, this stuff is like super concentrated, the orange one. So you're gonna, like I'm gonna put like a drop or two of the translucent yellow, and then I'm gonna use like a pinprick, a tiny pinprick of orange to just bring it into a little bit more of a kind of a goldish color. Let's see here. So I'm gonna try 2 drops of yellow and a pinprick of orange. I might have to actually add even more yellow. I'm gonna go for a super tiny amount of orange. And then green, same thing. I'm gonna do a pinprick of green. And then you can add you can kind of mess around with these colors. Red, to darken red is tough. To darken any of these colors would be a little bit more difficult. But if I wanted to like make the red a little bit more orange, I can add a little bit of yellow to there. And that'll just change the tone. So you gotta kind of play with some of these things, but the ones that are like really transparent give you more range in how you can kind of tweak colors, how you can affect them. And so with the green, we can add a little yellow to lighten that. So I think that's what I might do, is do a pinprick of green and then like 1 drop of yellow and just kind of lighten it up a little bit, brighten it a little bit. And then for red, I'm just going to do a drop. Red's pretty transparent. Okay, so we need cups. We got to get some cups. I think I'm just going to use these 100 grams. And it's probably easiest just to use these plastic guys. Got to get some more. Which pen? The digital pen? I'm a little annoyed. They updated the app on this thing, and the update is just terrible. Absolutely just horrid. They literally were like, oh, it's so unstable, you need to actually delete that and download this other one. And just, it's not perfect, but it is pretty cool. I wish it was like an automatic thing where because like you have to actually open your phone, open the app and do all this stuff. You can have the app open while you're writing and it'll automatically copy stuff over. But I find that to be kind of a pain, and the app closes. So I just do it, like update it after a while. And then you got to sit and wait. And if it's unstable, then the app crashes. It just, sometimes it's a pain, but. All right, so let's see here. We got 4 colors, and then we need white. So we're gonna do 60 grams of white. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna mix up the white for both the blanks. I'm gonna mix it in 1 cup, and then split it off. I think that's gonna be a little bit easier. And it will get a little bit warmer, probably. I don't know if I need that, though. Yeah. I don't think I need that, actually. So I'm just going to mix up 2 cups. I'm kind of going for lower temperatures. Doing 2 of these now, I'm going to have to move kind of quick, so I'll try to just be quiet and move on, get things rolling. Let's see here, and then 30 grams of white for each. Yeah, I do still think it's easier to. I'm gonna dump all the white and get it all mixed in 1 cup, and then just dump off 30 grams. I think that'll be easier. So, 0.6. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have 2 different cups. I don't want to try and do half, estimate half of the, like mix all the white for both blanks in 1 cup and then try and mix or estimate half and half. If you're going for kind of specific things, then just keep 30 in each one of these, one for each blank. Otherwise, you're going to end up, I find that I end up dumping, 80% in one and 20 in the other. Okay, so now we're ready. Let's do this. Jake's not difficult. Come on. Come on now. We need 230. Part A. Close enough. 231. We'll do 231 and 231 today. This one. But you don't want to go over on the part B. You can do whatever you want on part A. There's coming back from that, but no coming back from the part B. We're a little over on the part B. It's okay. Luckily, Alumilite clear is relatively forgiving. You struggle with a pencil? Yeah. I actually struggle with that pen sometimes, especially when it's cooler and dry. It's like super slippery. Like I need to put one of them rubber grip things around it. All right, we're going to be moving quick here, so I got to keep my brain about me. 100 grams in each one of these cups. Doesn't have to be exact, I mean, the more exact you are, then the more repeatable things can be, but I mean, if you're off a gram or two, who cares? with this stuff, it's not that big of a deal. Not going to make any difference. Okay. Then I'm going to put 60 grams in this cup. We're going to mix up both blanks, the white for both of the blanks. Then I want to put 0.6 grams of white dye in here. You could probably put less than that 1% number or whatever. The less you put in, the more kind of, like if you put just a very small amount of the white, it would be a lot more like kind of transparent or translucent, I think. I'm kind of going for more opaque, so this amount. So again, it's 60 grams of resin and then 0.6 grams of dye, which is like 1% factored against the whole amount in there. All right, so for violet, we're going to do a pinprick. So pinprick is just like a tiny, I'm talking a tiny amount, okay? That's all we need. I'm gonna get my hand down on this cup and I'm just gonna kind of swirl it around in there. And that's plenty to give us a nice transparent kind of see-through purple. You don't need a lot of the purple. And if that's not dark enough, then you can add a little bit more. If you wanted it more kind of, you could tint it red and that'll make it a little bit more, I don't know what you would name that color, but slightly different shade of it. Let's see, we got gold. We're going to go 2 drops of yellow to a pinprick of orange. And this is going to be like the tiniest pinprick ever. This orange gets super crazy. It's a tiny amount. And if I want more, I can add more, you know. Sneak up on it. There we go. That's a nice gold. What do you think of that gold? Turned out pretty good. And let's see here. What else we got? We got green. We're going to go a drop of yellow and a pinprick of green. Green is a pretty saturated color again, and dark also. What's the other color? Red. All right, so another pinprick. Another thing about this green is it's more kind of a, on the scale, it's like kind of a bluer shade of green. So if you're going for like spring green, which is kind of what I wanted, a little bit more of that kind of grass green, and you're gonna have to add yellow to make it more kind of vibrant green, as opposed to kind of a cooler green, like kind of a bluish tinted green. All right, so what were we gonna do? So I'm gonna go 2 drops of red. That sounds cool. That's pretty Yamagata reddish, I think. I don't know. All right, so what are we doing here? We're doing purple and gold. Where's purple? Purple and gold. Red and green. And let's see. So for the red and green, we're not going to stir it. All right. And this will be, I should have done this on the first one. This will be a better, I only had one PVC pipe this size. So we'll dump the green in first. I don't think it really matters which one you dump in. I'm going to dump some white in this time before I move on into the first color. Like I said, on the first one, I kind of forgot to do that, so it's going to be a little bit more separated. I'm going to get 30 grams of white measured out here. And if you wanted more color separation, then you would want to wait for a higher temperature. So right now, I'm guessing we're kind of where I want to be in the 90s. So 91. If you want a lot more color separation, you're going to want to wait till like probably 100, 105. Kind of depends on what temperature it is in your shop. And I'm going to kind of dump. All right, just so I can get some white down in the bottom there. Red and green. Now, here's our little trickiness. We're going to kind of dump this down the side very carefully to kind of keep that red. Now, it's not going to stay like 2 distinct layers. They're going to kind of bleed together a bit, but this will give you a pretty decent separation by just pouring it. You know, if you just dumped it down in there, it would just bleed together, kind of like, or, you know, kind of dump. I don't know how else to explain it. It would kind of splash together. So that's not too bad. I can't really tilt this too much further. You know, we got a pretty good color separation there. And then, so we're not doing a pour on this one, a swirl. We're just going to dump. And what we're going to look for in this is, I'm hoping that the white sinks. And you can probably already see on the green, there's a section of this that already just kind of, you know, sunk to the bottom. So I'm hoping that we can kind of get the same thing. I can see this already sinking in through the red. So we should get it to kind of pull all the way down through. Now, I don't, this isn't exactly the way that I would want these to look. I would want them kind of swirled up most likely, but it'll be interesting to see what this ends up looking like after we've demolded it, you know, because it's going to continue to kind of move and mess around like that until it finally gets to like the kind of hardened state. Okay, now I don't want to forget, I want to pour in some of this white. And I'm probably pouring, it's not like I'm going for half the amount of white. I'm just pouring a little bit of that white in the bottom so that it's kind of, there's white all the way through the blank, which I don't think, gravity is going to pull this stuff kind of down in, but I wanted, you know, especially in this case, I want to be able to be swirling up white in that yellow for sure. Okay, we got some purple. Hopefully I'm not messing anything up. And if you want even more, I don't know, let's just say another way to do this is you could pour in like maybe like half the yellow, pour in a little bit of white, pour in half more, you know, the rest of the yellow, pour in a little bit of white, pour in half the purple, a little white, and you might get a little bit more kind of mixture going on, let's say. All right, so we got our white. We're just going to go for the dump. And then we're going to use this stick this time. Let me get a paper towel to wipe this thing off with afterwards. All right, and I'm going to kind of twist it as I go down. And I got my fingers on the thing to kind of keep the resin from dripping all over the place. And I just kind of swirled it, you know, twisted it while pulling it out. And that should kind of mix up that white a little bit. And it's also going to kind of pull the colors a little bit together where you get a little bit of that kind of color bleed. I don't know what purple and gold mix to. Probably not. Maybe not the most beautiful color, but we'll have to see. So there we have it. That's all we got. So I'm going to open up our pressure pot, switch to this overhead view. You can see. So what I was going to do is actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab a third pipe. Let's switch views again. What I like to do is put these things, like rubber band them together just so that they're a little bit more stable, you know? They're not going to, you know, fall over on me in the pressure pot. So now I got kind of a pretty, you know, relatively stable base. If you wanted to, you could create some sort of caddy type system or something like that, but I find that works pretty good for like 3 pipes, 4 pipes, something like that. And pressure. All right. Now I'm going to leave these in for probably about 2 hours is probably fine. They're going to be hardened up. The directions for Alumilite Clear Slow say 4 hours, I think, at this point. Typically, as long as it's reasonably warm in your shop, you know, it's 75 degrees in my shop right now. That's plenty for a blank, you know, like a 1.5 inch thick blank like that, that's kind of tall. If you were doing like one single pen blank or something like that, you know, very thin, very, you know, small amounts of resin, you're going to easily want to leave it in for 4 hours. Even my Gatling molds, you know, when I'm doing pen blanks like this, like 3/4 inch by, you know, they're about 6 inch deep, and then you got 7 of them. Even if I'm doing this, I'm going to leave them in for probably 4 hours. I think that, again, that diameter of the resin, it's just not generating as much heat as like a 1.5 inch blank. And then when you get even bigger, you can, you know, easily 2 hours is plenty with this. Again, depending on the temperature in your shop. If it's only 50 degrees in your shop, you're going to need to leave it in for a lot longer, just because it can't generate as much heat. And like, you can kind of, the warmer it is, the faster it cures, basically. So, and the larger the blank, the more heat the blank generates. So you can, it's kind of a little bit of a sliding scale, but my best recommendation is I wouldn't pull it in under 2 hours unless you were trying to do some kind of a advanced technique with multiple layers of pores. I would leave it in minimum for everything 2 hours with this resin. 4 hours for smaller stuff, and then if you're doing super tiny stuff, overnight, just leave it in there overnight. You'll make sure that everything kind of is setting up properly and curing. And then even demolding, I kind of like, you can demold these in like probably 3 or 4 hours, depending on the, again, temperature. But I got to be honest, I usually leave them in overnight. One thing to kind of keep in mind is your pen blanks, the dimensions of them. Let me go pull one. If I can find one. Well, whatever. I'll just pull this one. The sooner you demold, like pull it out of the mold, it may still be soft, and so it could bend or do some stuff. So that's why I like to kind of keep mine in the mold overnight a lot of times, or at least for many hours, before I demold them. That way it just, those extra few hours are going to make sure that your blanks stay as flat, as rigid as possible without drooping or doing anything. And if you need to accelerate that, like if you need to kind of, get these things ready and demold them quicker, you can toss them in an oven at like 150 Fahrenheit or so for like probably like 4 or 5 hours. That should, and then let it cool off. It should stiffen everything up, like kind of cure up enough to where you can pull them out and you don't have to worry so much. You might want to contact Alumilite just to double check on that. I don't do that usually, so I don't have a lot of experience. I don't know the exact times, but you can accelerate cure times by like baking it basically. But if you do that, leave it in the mold. Otherwise, it's just gonna when you warm it up to like 150, it's gonna get even softer. So if you just stuck a bunch of blanks in the oven, they'd be all warped. So make sure to leave them in the mold when you're doing the baking process, if you need to accelerate the cure. Again, I don't really do that. I haven't really tested. I don't think there's a problem, because I know of other people that do that. However, without me doing testing, I don't want to do that with my blanks that I sell until I know for absolute sure that there's like no difference in the final quality, the turnability, let's say, of the blanks. But again, I don't think there is an issue. I think it works just fine, because I know other blank sellers that do that. I just don't take people's word for things until I've actually really tested it for sure on products that I'm selling, stuff like that. So anyway, let's see. Paul's back from Hawaii. That's cool. How was the trip? Ah, you liked the gold. Nice. Yeah, actually, unfortunately, Kim, I'm not going to be turning any of these. These are going in the subscription boxes for people. So sorry if I ruined the surprise for people, but this is one of the subscription boxes include 3 pen blanks and a stopper or handle size blank. And I need to get on these things. So I decided, I was trying to come up with something kind of different, but kind of, a little bit, I don't know. I'm thinking of like, we're coming up on the warmer months. So like a lot of kind of like brighter colors and things like that have been in my mind lately for blanks. And so I kind of came up with this idea. This isn't like, it's not like I came up with this technique or anything. Tons of other people I'm sure have done it. But you may or may not have seen it. And I thought this would be a really fun one to kind of share on the stream, because it's a little bit different than what we usually do. I think, it's not just mica powders. It's not just, dyes or whatever. It's adding a couple of elements together that produce interesting results. And if you haven't seen it before, and what it does it's so weird, just adding that white dye. It gives you transparent colors. There's like extreme depth. It gives you these kind of flowing, misty looking things with the white, but it also picks up that color. And then sometimes the two colors, or if you have multiple colors, that white will kind of make them bleed together and create even more shades than you put in there, it's just such a cool method. I love doing that one. So, okay, so before we go, we got to check out, so it looks like the alcohol ink blanks are what you guys chose for the poll. So I'm going to end the poll. So next week we'll be turning one of these guys up. So we're going to end that. Should tell you guys there it is, the results. Alcohol ink, so that was this one. It will be interesting to see. Alcohol ink doesn't cure. So that's why this is kind of an interesting thing, because these look good. Like there's no voids that I didn't cut into any voids or anything weird. There's a couple, I guess. There's a couple little pockets on the top of that one, but I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how this goes. Now, as long as it's not just soft, like cotton, in the middle where there's like no resin that was soaked up in these things, as long as it's pretty good and there's just a couple pits, we should be able to turn these. There shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. But I don't know. I also haven't seen anybody else do this, so we have no baseline information on how this is all going to turn out. So should be kind of fun to see if this works next week. Again, I think in the overall scheme of things, cotton balls seems like more hassle than it's worth. You could probably do, there's other things like realistically, you could just, to get a similar effect, I think it could be as easy as dye stabilizing wood and then just kind of sanding the wood into ball-shaped things. I mean, that's kind of what I do with a lot of my blanks. I have kind of a box of little cutoffs. You may not get as vibrant a color, and obviously you're going to have wood chunks in it, but here's like a little chunk of dye stabilized wood. I mean, you could kind of shape this into kind of a ball and kind of get the same look, sort of. I don't know. I'm not totally sold on the cotton ball thing. I don't know. I don't think that it's really worth it. But we'll have to see how it goes. So first thing first, I appreciate all you guys super chatting. Thank you for supporting the show and for picking some cool colors. Let's see here. Spencer's here. What's up, man? Did you get my... Make sure to check your email. I was trying to send you a video, but my email wouldn't let me send it. So we'll try and figure out a different way if you're on Instagram or Facebook. Let's see here. Oh yeah, the tip for trying to keep your tubes. Yeah, I would just stick them in there and hope. And I was like, man, one of these days these things are just, I'm gonna knock it. It's not hard to kind of jolt your pressure pot. Now I got mine locked down pretty tight, but they can still move. And if you sometimes, you just run into it, knock into it or something like that. And I'm like, man, one of these days I'm gonna knock all my tubes over. Not gonna be good. Headed to the Mediterranean for a 24-day cruise. That's cool. That's cool. I always wanted to do one of the, and I don't know, nowadays I'm not sure that I'd want to do this exactly, but I was always like, I want to do the world cruise. That'd be so fun. Be on a boat for ever, see all kinds of cool stuff. Oh, you are on Instagram. Okay, shoot me a message on Instagram, because that is the easiest way to do it. I was looking for you. I couldn't find you. Cool. Oh, good, Mark. Yeah, if you do try it, tag me or shoot me some an email with pictures of what you get, because I haven't really done a lot of these. I've done this before in the past, probably with different ways, but it's been a while, and I kind of get different results every time, depending on how I do things. To be honest, I don't think I've ever done I don't really think I've done this kind of like 2-color thing that I can remember. I've probably poured some colors together or something, but now another thing, you know, you can add some mica powder in there as well. You could do kind of a few different kind of colors, and then you'd have like, you know, kind of a pearly color, and you'd have the white kind of things, and you'd also have some transparent areas, but you'd also get some bleeding of different colors. So, you know, I don't know, you could do anything basically with this stuff. That's why I love resin. So anyway, guys. All right, so don't forget the zebra blanks for you pen turners out there. The new zebra style pen blanks, here's an example, are available on the website. I'm super stoked about these ones. It's been a while since I dropped a new blank, and there's going to be more to come. I have been, you know, you guys might have noticed I'm not that active on Instagram, like barely at all. And it's because I'm like cranking out new ideas on different pen blanks and stuff. You guys did see the kind of, I like to call it the neon color kind of thing. We made that pen out of one. Let's see if I can share an idea here, share a picture, an example. So these are going to be coming soon. I'm just trying to kind of dial in how I want them to be poured, basically, like the technique of how I'm going to do this over and over, and kind of make sure I'm getting the same results. That's one of the problems I have is especially with these vertical pour blanks. You know, it's not like I haven't been doing vertical pours for like 10 years. Most of what I've done, most of my experience, especially with all the blanks that I sell, are bricks. But I'm trying to kind of migrate into this vertical pouring thing because I'm finding that, I don't know, I kind of have a little bit more control, honestly, over what I can get, and they're just more convenient. Plus, it's less material, so I can sell them for cheaper than they would otherwise be, and they're less work to get ready to sell. So it kind of makes sense. The problem is it's a different technique than pouring into a trough, you know. So I'm kind of learning new techniques and finding some different inspirations with different stuff, but the way that I like to do things is I like to make tons of them to make sure that I'm getting consistent results before I'm like, okay, now they're for sale. So more blanks are coming on the way, and I have so many ideas blowing up in my brain. But anyway, should be kind of fun. So like I said, there's a link. Let's see, there's a link to the zebras in the description, but here's another link to those if you guys want to pick any up. I think that's about it, guys. So I appreciate you all joining the fun tonight. Again, sorry for last week. I was just not feeling good. Like I couldn't even have talked. I would have just been coughing the whole time. But I'm feeling better from the sickness, luckily, and should be pretty fun. So next week we'll be turning up one of those cotton ball pens, and I think that's about it, guys. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have fun, get in the shop, do some casting, do some turning, and I will see you guys all on the next live stream.